Hey TVC kids, welcome back. We are reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and we got through just the beginning of the first chapter. They were living in a house out in the country. Do you remember the four kids? Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy? And they were exploring the house because it was a rainy day out. And so they were exploring the house, and everyone else left the room except for Lucy, and she opened the door to the wardrobe. Two little mothballs rolled out, and that's where we ended, so let's pick up there. Looking into the inside, she saw several coats hanging up, mostly long fur coats. There was nothing Lucy liked so much as the smell and the feel of fur. Can you imagine her peeking in and seeing all that beautiful fur? She immediately stepped into the wardrobe and got in among the coats and rubbed her face against them, leaving the door open, of course, because she knew that it's very foolish to shut oneself in a wardrobe. Remember that, kids. Lucy says, very foolish. Soon she went further in and found that there was a second row of coats hanging up behind the first row. Wow, that's a lot of winter coats, right? A lot of fur coats. It was almost quite dark in there, and she kept her arms stretched out in front of her as to not bump the back of the wardrobe. So she knew there was going to be coats, and then she was going to be coats, and she kept going with her arms out thinking, soon I'm going to hit the back of the wardrobe, right? She took another step further in, and 2 or 3 steps, always expecting to feel the woodwork against the tips of her fingers, but she could not feel it. This must be a simply enormous wardrobe, thought Lucy, going still further in and pushing the soft folds of coats aside to make room for her. Then she noticed something there. There was something crunchy under her feet. I wonder if that's more mothballs, she thought, stooping down to feel it with her hand. But instead of feeling the mothballs or feeling smooth wood of the floor of the wardrobe, she felt something soft and powdery and extremely cold. This was very strange, she said, and went on to a step or 2 further. I love it when she says, this is something strange. Let's keep going. What do you guys think? Next moment, she found that she was rubbing against her face and hands that was no longer soft fur. What was rubbing, I wonder? But something hard and rough and very prickly. Why, it was just like the branches of trees, exclaimed Lucy. And then she saw that there was a light ahead of her. Not a few inches away where the back of a wardrobe would be, but a long way off. Something cold and soft was falling on her. A moment later, she found that she was standing in the middle of you ready for the page turn? Wood at nighttime with snow under her feet and snowflakes falling through the air. Wow. Lucy felt a little frightened, but she felt very inquisitive and very excited as well. How would you guys feel? How would you feel if you went into a wardrobe? So it's like you go into your closet, right? But you keep going, and you end up in a wooded area with snowflakes falling. Nice. She looked back over her shoulder, and there between the dark tree trunks, she could see the open doorway of the wardrobe, and even catch a little glimpse of the empty room from which she had set out. She had, of course, left the door open, for she knew it was a very silly thing to shut oneself into a wardrobe. It seemed to be still daylight there. I could always get back if anything goes wrong, thought Lucy. So she began to walk forward, crunch, 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 over the snow and through the wood toward the other light. In about 10 minutes, she reached it and found it was a lamppost. As she stood looking at it, wondering why there was a lamppost in the middle of the wood, and wondering what to do next, she heard a pitter-patter of feet coming toward her. And soon after that, a very strange person stepped out from amongst the trees into the light of the lamppost. He was only a little taller than Lucy herself, and he carried over his head an umbrella white with snow. From the waist upward, he was like a man, but his legs, they were shaped like a goat's. The hair on them was glossy black, and instead of feet, he had goat hoofs. He also had a tail, but Lucy did not notice this at first because it was neatly caught up over the arm of the umbrella so that he could keep it from trailing in the snow. So here he is, person up here, goat down there, holding his umbrella with his tail over his arm. How else would you carry your tail, right? Awesome. He also had a red woolen muffler, that's a scarf for us, round his neck, and his skin was rather reddish too. He had a strange but pleasant little face, with a short pointed beard and curly hair, and out of the hair there stuck 2 little horns, one on each side of his forehead. One of his hands, as I have said, held the umbrella, but in the other he carried several brown parcels. That's like packages. What with the parcels and the snow, it looked like he'd just been doing his Christmas shopping. He was a fawn. And when he saw Lucy, he gave such a start of surprise that he dropped all his parcels. "Goodness gracious me!" exclaimed the fawn. And that's where we end today. Do you want to hear more about the fawn? Does anybody know his name already? All right. I would love to see your pictures of the lamppost and the fawn with his umbrella, with the snow on top. I hope to see some of your pictures, you guys. I'm going to start chapter 2 tomorrow. Are you ready for it? Come back. Find out what Lucy finds. All right. I love you guys. See you soon.